Hello everyone and welcome down to a very unique episode of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia, as I walk you through our top 10 videos of 2024. So what I'm going to do is list our 10 best performing videos for this year on the YouTube algorithm. Thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed, followed the channel. As we've gone through 2024, it's been a fantastic year for the Down South Photo Show. So I'm going to go through our 10 highest rated episodes for the year. And what I'll do is actually play you a snippet from the top 5. So we'll go from 10 to 6, and then from 5 onwards, we'll play a little snippet from each one. Otherwise, this video is going to run forever, and you don't want that. It's something short and sweet to fill in that gap between Christmas and New Year in 2024, where everyone forgets what day it is. Everyone just watches cricket or hangs out with the family, as you bloody well should. So I hope you're all enjoying your festive season, and let's get on with the list. So coming in at number 10 for that's 10 for 2024 was episode 127, which was all about camera gear, use it or lose it. That was a great discussion we had about using your gear that's lying around. So many people have heaps of gear just lying around and they don't use it. Lenses, cameras, all this sort of stuff. They replace it, and then it just sort of ends up in landfill eventually. So let's start using our camera gear. Coming in at number 9 was Tasmania Forever. That was episode 119. All of these are linked below in order, by the way. Episode 119, Tasmania Delivers. Tasmania, fantastic place. We happen to be down there running the Down South Photo Show Tarkine to Cradle Mountain workshop, and lo and behold, at Cradle Mountain, we got ourselves an Aurora. So if you want to check that one out, that's linked below. That was episode 119. Coming in at number 8 on our top 10 videos for 2024 was photographing the Great Ocean Road. No surprise that at least two of our workshop videos made it into the top 10. The Great Ocean Road workshop that we held way back in May, which feels like a lifetime ago now. That is episode 123 of the Down South Photo Show, photographing the Great Ocean Road. Again, that'll be linked below. In at number 7, Wide, Wider and Widest, which was episode 128 of the Down South Photo Show. So that was back in July, and we were talking about using ultra wide lenses for landscapes, if I can get my words out. It's been a long day. So that was the 7th most watched video. Coming in at number 6, episode 118, Don't Be Cheap. Cheap is for the birds. This was all about buying cheap gear, rated really well for us on the old algorithm. So episode 118, Don't Be Going to Buy Cheap Gear. So this is where we get into the top 5. And coming in at number 5 was Mine's Bigger Than Yours, Size Matters. It was all about sensor sizes, and for quite some time, this episode was our most watched video on our channel, but that was knocked off its perch as the year went on. Anyway, here's a small snippet from episode number 5. From the 5th best rated, which is episode 136. Cam, next topic, which may be the thumbnail, so people might already know this. Are people now starting to see the light and go to a crop censored camera over a full frame camera? This is becoming a more common question I have on workshops, says Cameron. Yes. Why am I reading your question? I don't know.
I don't know. I thought you were going to take ownership of it and also say, oh.
No. So you have people on your workshops.
I've noticed a bit of a trend.
Sensors.
Yeah, a lot of people asking about crop sensors, and I think this is on the back of improved noise reduction and sharpening and all the AI kind of stuff that's coming in. I think there's a swing out there that people are starting to move away from the idea that full frame is better because it's full frame. There's all the throwaways. Smaller sensors have noise. They're not great with this. They're not great with that. I think it's becoming less of an issue for people. Combine that with the size of these full frame and full frame cameras, even though they're mirrorless. I think people are still seeing that the lenses have got to be quite big to fill that sensor and things like that. So we had a few interesting conversations up in the Tarkine and on a couple of other workshops as well, where people have they've gone and bought their Z series Nikons, and they've gone and bought their Canon R series or whatever it might be, and within a couple of days they're contemplating changing, being on the workshop. So shout out to Ed, who was just on our Tarkine workshop. He's got a Z7, I think it was. And he's now looking at maybe getting an OM as a travel camera, just something a bit smaller.
Mm.
Even though he's using mirrorless Nikon, he still wants something a bit smaller and lighter, and having a chat about the quality of it all, and talking about those things I just mentioned, noise and sharpness and stuff like that. I think it's changing.
It's kind of interesting as well that Canon and Nikon have both stuck with a crop censored version of these mirrorless cameras as well. So,
Yeah.
And forgive me, I can't remember the name of the models. I want to say like an R in Canon, it's like a
It's an
R7.
Yeah.
I think it's an R7, and in Nikon it's like an Z30 or something like that.
Yeah.
Where they have, for all intent and purposes, it looks like the full frame equivalent, but it's actually not. It's a crop censored camera,
crop sensor. That's right.
Gives them the 1.6 times reach on a lens.
Yeah.
I mean, and we all know that Olympus OM system give us a 2 times reach, which can be definitely beneficial. Not like technically not so much for landscape, but definitely today when I was doing the sheepdog stuff. So on the EM1X, 100 to 400. Right, which is effectively a 200 to 800.
Yeah.
Then I put on the 2 times teleconverter.
Yeah.
And I had a 1600 millimeter lens.
So you were poking the eyes out of the sheep.
Yeah, well, it was great. I got some really cool close-up stuff of the dogs at work. By the way, I literally got home like an hour ago and haven't had a chance to even look at any photos. This was edited on my phone, just so I could flick Jacko an image and show him. But having that kind of versatility at the long end is brilliant. I think. All right, so coming in at our 4th best rated video was episode 111, which was day 1 and 2 of our 3 Capes adventure back in February 2024. This was the walk that myself, Cam, and 5-Star Dan, and of course, good old Jack from Ocean Grove came on with us on the 3 Capes. One of my most fun videos to edit because it sent me straight down memory lane on a fantastic a journey photographing the 3 Capes area. So here's a little snippet from our 3rd most rated video of the year, the 3 Capes walk.
So that's day 1, ladies and gents. It's a short 4 kilometres, a couple of little pinches there. We have, this is a bit ridiculous, this is.
Well, hello and welcome to day 2 of the Three Capes walk. We made it.
Yes.
And have a look at that for a little backdrop.
Cameraman.
We've got 5-star Dan on the camera who's helping us out tonight, which is awesome. We also have a live audience across here that we won't show.
Pan around, put it on camera, pan around and put it
they wanted to. We have a live studio audience in the middle of nowhere. How good's that?
They're probably all criminals and drug addicts, but that's okay.
That's right. So.
Yeah, what are you going to talk about?
Well, great day. The weather picked up, so that was great. We had a few issues yesterday with a bit of overcast conditions,
yes.
but very contrasty though.
Very, as in light-wise?
Light-wise, yeah.
It was in the middle of the day, yeah, but you wouldn't normally shoot in the middle. Did you have the microphone?
No, it's the right way now. It's fine.
It's it was a bit contrasty, but it's nice now. The light's dropping off, and this is the best time to shoot. These guys should be all out shooting.
Yeah, that's right.
Instead they're drinking.
Yeah, exactly.
And watching on. So yeah, no, it was a bit contrasty, but you get that.
Yeah.
In summer. Summer's a tough time to shoot. So.
Yeah, and again today there was a lot of call for the long lens. Again, as you'll see shortly when we put up today's shots.
Yes,
a lot of big vistas though, a lot of big seascapes
Yep.
and towering cliffs. We've got our first taste today of the towering cliffs.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the southern coast of Tassie is pretty impressive, and I think tomorrow morning is going to be pretty special.
Yes.
So we're getting up. What time are we getting up in the morning?
Very early. I think we're going to probably get going about 4:30, something like that.
Stupid.
I know, but you only hear once, so
yeah. Well, that's right. We might be, but yeah, no, it's going to be good tomorrow. We've got some big sea cliffs tomorrow, and yeah, the light's going to be nice tomorrow morning, and it's been a good day. It's been a bit warm. It's getting hotter.
Yes.
It's going to be hotter tomorrow.
Yeah, but the best thing today was the southerly dropped. So
yeah, we got rid of that wind, didn't we?
Definitely.
Last night it was a bit windy.
Yes, definitely improved the conditions.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of subjects to photograph, it really is all about these big vistas and seascapes that you can see behind us. Bit of a surprise in the lack of bird life.
Yes, that's right, Ratman. There is a lack of bird.
That's right.
There is a lack of bird life. Well, we saw some eagles today, and we just saw some gulls flying around here. You might have to put the mic around here so I can hear. So yeah, we've got some bird life happening, but I don't know. Maybe it's a bit too hot for them. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is with bird life around here, but
yeah, I'm not disappointed at all. I mean, you're here for the landscapes, but it's
yeah.
always nice when you've got the big lenses and stuff that you can get a few bird shots. But
Yeah.
maybe tomorrow, who knows? Hopefully we get to spot a few dolphins and
well, apparently there's
sort of
some southern right whales hanging around,
and a couple of humpbacks too.
Humpbacks.
So I like the term the bachelor humpbacks.
Yes, that's right up our alley, isn't it?
The ones that didn't.
If you're going to be a humpback, you want to be a bachelor one.
That's exactly right.
Totally.
So apparently out here, this is quite a protected little bay right here.
Is this the Munro Bay that they're referring to?
This is Munro Bay, yeah.
Right,
so
okay.
that the hut is named after. So
Yeah, right.
we're at Munro Hut.
While we're at Munro Hut, we should tell a story about the local wildlife, shouldn't we?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, especially the rat.
Yeah, so apparently we've just had a little briefing, and apparently they have a resident rat that they're trying to keep out of the kitchen area.
Yes,
in particular.
Yes.
And its name happens to be Brendan, so that's a win for me.
Bratman.
Yeah,
so
Bratman too.
But there's not as much wildlife as I thought as well. There's a few wallabies we've seen.
Yep. Pygmy possums apparently. Now that would be extraordinary
But they're
if
tiny.
we can. They're pygmy possums, Cameron.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know how you'd see them in the dark.
That's right.
And there's bats. There's 8 endemic species of bats as well,
which is pretty amazing.
It is.
Yeah. So hopefully we might get a glimpse of those, but then again we might be early to bed as well, so we get up for this sunrise tomorrow. So
I'm odds on that we're not getting up. We're all going to wake up and go no. I think.
It's feeling like tomorrow is the jewel in the crown of the Three Capes walk.
Well, it is. If you jump on Instagram, you'll see that the blade is the thing. It's either the sunrise, the sunset, or it's got an aurora.
Yeah.
That's been dropped in fake by someone else.
That's
or
right.
It's got the lighthouse on Tasman Island. So
yeah.
If you're going to do this walk, this is the place you want to be, either at sunset or sunrise.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, the light falling across on the cliffs here is changing as we've been talking to you. So. Hopefully that little camera's picking that up all right.
Which, of course, Daniel has.
But if it's not, we'll have an overlay of a few other shots there.
I bet you he hasn't even pressed record.
Well, we've got a fantastic editor, so although it won't help if he didn't press record.
That's right,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
So we'll do some more B-roll tomorrow,
Yes.
walking out to the Blade.
Yes.
Hopefully we can show you sunrise from the Blade.
Yes.
Because that would save a lot of people having to go out there.
That's right. This is just encouraging people to keep watching the episode, that's all.
Yeah, yeah.
So
that's a hook.
That is a hook, that's right.
Yeah.
But here is today's scenery, today's shots that we got today, and a little bit of video for you. So enjoy, and we will talk to you from day 3 tomorrow night.
Maybe.
Ciao. Bye.
Doing well, we're doing a good time. Day 2 of the 3 Caps track. Great stair work. All right, that's one pinch done. Whew.
So we start a little uphill for the first time today. Bit of a climb. These lenses never do it justice, but oh, you can see the stairs there. It's a little steep. Up we go through the rocks. Beautiful track. Very well maintained and built track. How's the quality of the track, Jacko? Not too bad at all. Nice little view off.
Which idea is this?
Is that to the, that would be to the south, wouldn't it, that way? Okay. To the north, I meant.
The windbag's going south, isn't it?
Yeah, well, exactly the
Come on,
opposite.
bear.
Exactly the opposite. Oh, we have a little
Dead skink.
dead bit of wildlife. Through the rocks we go, up and up. Righto, so we're probably halfway through day 2, maybe a little bit further than halfway, I think. Lots of boardwalk, this stuff, with a chook wire on it. You got the chicken wire for the grip. Yes, I've got the poles out. Finding with the poles, they're great. You can tell straight away. You can see the difference that it makes in spreading the load. But of course, it's a bit hard to walk, film, and have poles. So, as is that. But anyway, poles for the win. Beautiful little spot. Lots of boardwalk. And we'll keep on trucking. Righto, here we are. Deep into day 2 now. Probably only 4 k's to go or something like that. In the forest areas of Tasmania. Beautiful spot. Feeling pretty good. Just stopped at a great spot. Tornado Ridge. Beautiful spot. Get this right. There we go. Beautiful spot for stop for lunch or just to check out the amazing view. It's pretty cool. Big dramatic cliffs and things like that. So completely different to the overland here. This is Tassie. It's more like kind of like the Otways or even the Australian high country, but coastal. So that's kind of different. So very cool spot. Quite enjoying the walk. Poles are getting a good workout. Camera's getting a good workout. Hoping for a few views tonight, and then the highlight tomorrow being out to the Blade. So apparently that's one of the big highlights of this walk. So looking forward to that. And it's only just past like 1 o'clock, so it's pretty early. We're going to get to the hut about 2, I reckon. So enjoy. Not bad, Jacko. That's pretty impressive. So here we are into day 2 of the walk. Lovely little spot, lots of woodland areas. Track's amazing. I'll show you from the other camera in a sec, but it's really quite impressive, the infrastructure here. Found a nice, nifty little hack for this thing. It just sits there.
Very happy with myself. Bit over, sort of just carrying it in my hand, but it worked, but this works even better. So it means I just grab the big zoom lens whenever I need it, so it's very cool. Got the boys behind us, enjoying a little morning stroll on a Saturday morning. 3 capes, so far so good.
As the Brendan Waits makes his way through the forest, we are coming into Munro Hut, which is day 2 ended, and it's been a big day. 11 kilometres. We're doing well though. The toilets are that way. This man's got no pack, so we must be there. Oh, look at that, we are in paradise. It's a little bit fancy, this, but what a spot. So that's 11 k's done, day 2, folks. We are at Munro Hut, and it's a beautiful, beautiful day. And if the hut's not enough to excite you, I'll turn left up here and show you the poor view off here. There we go, folks. That's why you do the hard yards.
Okay, coming in at number 3, we're into the top 3 now of our most watched videos of 2024. Number 3 was episode 120, How to Photograph the Aurora. 2024 was a massive year for the Southern Lights, or Aurora Australis here, particularly here down south where we are, for Cam down in Tasmania, and for myself here on the south coast of Victoria. The Aurora went off in 2024. So we thought we'd best put an episode together on how to shoot the thing. So here is a snippet from episode 120, our 3rd most watched video for the year, How to Photograph the Aurora. Enjoy.
You said that speed as well.
Can I just get you to reverse back over your settings, please? Thank you. Just tell me again. So you started at what ISO?
I started at 800 ISO.
Yep.
Which is different to what I normally do my Astro at. I usually start at 1600 ISO,
Right.
but when I got down there and I saw how bright it was, I knew I didn't need 1600 ISO sensitivity. Yep. I shot at f2.8, so I had it wide open. I had my 10-second timer on as well, like you did.
Yep.
And my shutter speed, I think, was anywhere from 15 seconds to 10 seconds. It was wasn't much at all. I also used the star autofocus on the OM1 to focus on these stars here.
Yep.
And that worked a treat. I can tell you now, I got out of the car and I had my first shot off in a minute.
Yep.
I had it all set up, ready to go. Bang. It was super simple.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's good to have a nice, simple setup like that. And the great thing about shooting Aurora, generally speaking, is once you've got your settings dialed in, then it's just composition searching, like most photography we talk about. And that's getting things in the foreground, and whether it be me and my daughter, or whether it be the tree behind you, or whether it be a jetty or a lighthouse or a windmill or wherever you happen to be. So that's where it's good like that.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly talk about manual focusing the lens.
Yes.
And I know what you said about using the star autofocus that Olympus is famous for. What I like to do with this lens in particular, I like to focus it to infinity, but it's funny because you say focus to infinity and everyone thinks, well, you got to turn it all the way until it's at a stop, which if I can show you on this lens, so you can turn it and then it actually, you
Yes.
can't turn it anymore.
It
Well,
goes to infinity and beyond.
correct. You've actually literally got to crank it back. Now, I find on the 7-14 lens, if you're looking down at the lens and you can see the little infinity symbol, when the marker is over the right hand side of that infinity symbol,
Yeah.
this thing is sharp.
Yeah.
And I've done tests, and that's when I've found that it is at its sharpest, is when
Yeah.
it's over the right hand side of the infinity symbol.
Yeah.
And then it's it. Then you're done. You're locked in. You've got your camera set up. I
Yeah.
was literally slinging this thing over my shoulder on the tripod, walking down the beach, taking more photos.
Yeah.
Didn't have to change the settings much at
No,
all,
that's right.
except for what you said off the top, and that was that this damn aurora was so bright.
Yeah.
I started at 1600. Within 2 shots, I was down to 800. Within
Yeah.
2 more shots, I was at 400 as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Because I'm shooting at f2.8,
That's
so
right.
we're letting in a lot of light.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing with the focusing is probably the hardest thing that people struggle with auroras. Like you said, once you get your settings right, your exposure, it doesn't change much. Like it's fairly standard most of the night.
Yeah.
But the focus at infinity can be a trick thing. So what a lot of people try and do though, they try and focus on stars and things like that. What I've learned over the years is that, okay, the stars are a long way away, but infinity on the lens generally starts at like 50 meters or something like that. It's not
That's right.
light years away. So even on your photo there, focusing on those lights of Barwon Heads, that would be most likely infinity.
Yeah.
So if you can't find a star to focus on, you can use something down a bit lower on, on the horizon that's away further to use your infinity marker. So a lot of people get confused with that. Different if you're in complete pitch black and you got no reference to work off. But yeah, it was the settings were pretty straightforward. And then, like you said, it's just composition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I actually had this conversation with my brother-in-law today. He's a keen photographer, and you and I, we rattle off the settings. That's fine, but we do this on the daily. Like we're out there always, doing long exposure photos, or we're doing, waterfall shots, or we're doing particular kinds of shots, and we do it on rinse and repeat all the time.
Yeah.
There are people that wouldn't have shot an aurora for a year.
Yeah.
They go out, and I understand it. They just like, oh, what do I do here?
Yeah.
Like, and then sometimes it's just a matter of, okay, let's walk through it. It's dark, so you're going to need a higher ISO to absorb the light.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your camera's going to struggle to autofocus, so manual focus is probably best, unless you've got a souped up, awesome camera that can focus on a star, which a lot of listeners probably don't have, or might have at some point, but right now probably don't.
Yeah.
I saw some awesome photos last night from Nikon D3100s with their kit lens.
Yeah.
At f3.5. That's totally fine. But they compensated by boosting the ISO to 1600 to 3200.
That's right. Yeah.
You still get the shot. So, as I say, it's easy for us to sit here and rattle off the numbers, but practice makes perfect, folks. Even when there's not an aurora, go out and do some astro work, because that's going to really put you in good stead when your aurora shows up. All right, coming in at number 2 on our most watched videos for 2024. Bit of a surprising one, this one, was our New Year's Eve special that we put out last year. So this actually was released on the 30th of December 2023, but technically it's our most watched video, our second most watched video for 2024. Lots of views on this one, and it looks like it's had in excess of 700 plus views. So very, very cool. Here's a snippet of a year ago, basically, our second most watched video for 2024. So the first thing you want to do is get your spot. That is crucial. You have to stake out your spot.
Yes, it is.
You're going to have to be that person that spreads their tripod out in the prime spot. Did I mention you have to take a tripod? Right, let's start with gear. You have to have a tripod.
Well, hang on, let's go back one step. Let's
more.
go back, because today on the radio, this is so topical. On the radio, so anyone that lives in New South Wales and in Sydney who wants to go see what's behind Brendan there, the big, probably, as much as I hate to say this, it's probably the best fireworks display in the world, the Sydney ones. I reckon they always look incredible with that bridge.
They do.
But apparently this year you can only reserve your spot in like one or two vantage points. The rest of it is free willy. You got to go there and fight tooth and nail for your spot. So there was an announcement today saying that you need to get out real early. So I'm picking like lunchtime to get your spots. But
Well,
picnic rug, take a big picnic rug, and it's
yes,
like a big footprint. And then you just say you
yes,
got a big family that's coming later. And
that's right. No,
so
and
anyway,
just sit there and maybe put on some cricket on the radio or something,
just drink
or
cans.
true, play some tunes, just hang out there. The good thing about most fireworks displays is quite often they will have an early fireworks display
The kids ones, the kiddie
for
ones.
the kiddies.
Mm.
Sydney do a 9:30, Melbourne do a 9:30. I think even my local area,
Hobart,
Geelong, do a
Hobart,
Hobart do.
it's 1983, but it's still a 9:30.
Perfect.
Mm.
And I would actually hazard a guess that the one behind me was part of the 9:30 display, given how much light there is still in the sky there. So,
Well, it's a good point you raise there because I've found the same with my one behind here. If you want to get proper, really good New Year's Eve fireworks, I've noticed over the last few years that the first display, which is generally the kids one at 9:30, it generally tends to be the better one because it's not pitch black. There's still a bit of color in the sky. So you
yeah,
can actually get some effects like we've got behind our shots here. So if you don't want to sit up to midnight, but you still want to get some pretty good shots, highly recommend getting the early one. Then you can sort of just pack up and enjoy the night, really.
exactly. Or you can
Mm.
practice on the
Well,
kids'
the next one.
ones and
Yeah.
be prepared for the big show.
Mm.
Camera settings, Cam, what would you use to shoot fireworks?
Well, first of all, yes, definitely tripod.
Yes.
I normally would shoot, and I haven't shot many fireworks. I sort of wing it a bit.
Yep.
I would normally shoot in manual mode.
Yes.
I want to try and control my shutter speed to give it a few seconds because the fireworks take off and they go in the sky, then they explode. So I usually try and get something like around about 4 to 6 seconds of some sort of
Perfect.
action. I would have my ISO. Again, it would depend on the time of night as well, or if it's a really bright region or little bits of, lots of ambient light around you. But I would say something like about 400 ISO would be maybe a good way to start off with.
Hmm.
I would use the self timer as well. So don't, if you've got a cable release, that'd be great. Um, and then autofocus can be a bit of a tricky one as well, because if you're trying to press the button, it's trying to focus on a dark sky before the firework goes off. That's not going to work. So
If you're
it's a little
lucky
bit,
enough to be in Sydney, though, you might be able to
that's
preempt
right,
that and focus on
on the
the big
bridge or
coat
something.
hanger there.
Yeah. Otherwise, similar to how you would shoot Astro, go into manual mode, and shoot your turn your autofocus off and do manual focus to infinity should be okay.
Yep.
If you find that it's missing that a bit, you might back it off, or you might focus on something over the other side of the bay there, or on the other side of the river, so you get a bit of a distance there. As for F number, that plays around a bit with me. I couldn't tell you off the bat what it would be, but I generally sort of start at like F8 or F11.
Yeah.
And that way it gives you a bit of room either way to either open it up and go faster shutter speed, or shut it down and get a slower shutter speed. But that'd be better. I'd take all my filters off. I would
Yeah.
have no filters on,
No. So
and give myself plenty of room.
unlike you in real life, Cam, no filter. Hey.
And I would give myself a bit of room. That's one thing I've noticed at fireworks, because it gets really busy.
Yeah.
Try and make sure you've got yourself a good bit of space. We shot some fireworks on our Kakadu workshop a couple of months ago in Darwin, when we got back to Darwin. And it was all on the foreshore there, and we got on these little sand dunes, and it was only that we spread ourselves out that we actually gave ourselves plenty of room. There was other people on the beach, so we're all next to each other, and they're moving around, and they're sort of dodging each other to get things out of their bag. So give yourself a bit of room. If there's other photographers there, be wary of them as well. People get a bit nancy on New Year's Eve with fireworks if you get in their way or you knock their camera. So give everyone a wide berth.
Yep.
Yeah. Did I cover
As
everything?
as with most things in photography, the old PPP, prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yes, I love
which
that.
is like PP. I hate that saying, by the way. One of my bosses said that to me once, and I could have punched him in the face. But that's another story. I like
Piss poor performances result in punches in face.
correct.
Mm.
That's right.
Mm.
Lens selection for me would be, I would like to have a little bit of zoom if I could, just so I've got a bit of versatility in the moment, because
Yeah.
you won't have long. Like, if you're in Sydney, you're going to have 20 minutes of
Yeah.
a fireworks display, which is why everyone should at least once in their life have a crack at photographing the city fireworks, because if you can't get a good fireworks display with that going on,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, you probably photography might not be your thing.
Well,
But
it is easy to stuff up though.
oh no, it is. I'm not
Yeah.
taking. I'm not saying that lightheartedly. What I'm
No.
saying is give yourself a bit of preparation. So have it, like a Zoom. If we're talking, say, a 24 to 100 in 35
Yep.
mil speak, range would be good, I reckon.
Yeah.
You might want to isolate a couple of little areas. You might, for example, the photo behind Cam, the fireworks all happening sort of right over the harbour there. So maybe a slightly tighter crop.
That's about as big as they get in Hobart.
There you go. So maybe a slightly tighter crop there on that image.
Can you see all the Sydney to Hobart boats there? That's where they all pull up. So you have the Sydney to Hobart boat race.
Wunderbar, little
Yeah.
carnival.
It is a carnival.
Yeah.
Something else that is really cool about focal length as well, so at BFOP this year, Bright Festival of Photography, make sure you get your tickets for next October. They had a whole fireworks displayed. Oh, you know, you were there. But like I was saying, it's not always simple to get fireworks. And even though this was a big festival of photography and we had about 20 professionals wandering around to help people, I still heard people yelling out, "Oh, I'm not getting it. I'm just getting a black screen," or whatever it is. So
Yeah.
do a little bit of research before you go out, because like we say, it sounds pretty straightforward. But to be honest, I reckon fireworks are up there with lightning. They're a little bit tricky and a little bit hit and miss. But getting back to your focal length, something else you can do, which is cool, is you can actually zoom out or zoom in when the fireworks are going off, and you get that sort of explosion coming into the lens. Looks pretty cool as well.
Definitely. Good tips all around, I think. Well, that pretty much tops it off. But I think using your self timer is really important, so that because you will be working quickly, and that generally leads to camera shake. So just a 2-second self timer. And look, preempting is tough. The fireworks displays aren't the same. There's no two are the same. So preempting when things are going to go off, so to speak, could be a little tricky.
And something else that can play around with you a bit with fireworks, one thing I try and take note of is the wind direction. So even though the fireworks go off, they'll fade to a certain direction into the wind, but they'll also create a lot of smoke that goes into that wind. So if you're sort of downwind from where the fireworks are, you're going to get a lot of disturbance in front of the fireworks. So if you can get yourself in a viewpoint that's side on to the wind, that would make a big difference. And you can sort of do practice shots beforehand. So for example, that bridge behind Brendan there, you could always do a couple of shots just to get the exposure on that bridge right. And if you get the exposure on the bridge right, you're pretty much close to the mark on what the fireworks going to look like. You can do some quick tweaking. But yeah, so you can do some practice shots beforehand. Don't just leave it to the first firework to snap off a frame and see what's going on. Take a few test shots, make sure the lights look okay, make sure you got your composition all okay and stuff like that. So yeah.
Excellent. How spectacular is that, by the way?
That's a pretty good, that's a great shot of yours.
Yeah. It's not. It's thanks, Google. I've never seen the fireworks in Sydney. I'd like to. Look, fireworks.
Next year,
not really my thing, but
next year we're running a competition on dsps.com.au next year.
Mm-hmm.
You get to go see the Sydney fireworks with us.
That's right. Exactly. On a TV screen.
Yes. At a pub somewhere.
Okay, here it is. Time for the big reveal. Our most watched video for 2024. And I've got a feeling that most of our fans and subscribers out there will have a fair idea on what it is. Yes, it was our interview with the fabulous Nick Carver out of the United States. Thank you, Nick, for joining us on the channel. We had thousands of views on this thing. That's already approaching a couple of thousand views. It was a fabulous interview. If we do say so ourselves, we got a lot out of it. We really enjoyed it. And going by the viewership, clearly you did as well. So here it is, our most watched video of 2024. And what I'm going to do is actually play the video in its entirety here for you, because it was our most watched. So you can sit through it and watch it all again. You can, of course, skip through to the end if you like. But here is our interview with Nick Carver, our most watched video for 2024. And welcome down to episode 144 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia, and the guy on your other screen or in your other ear if you're listening to the podcast. It's Cam Blake in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia, and we have a third window on the screen, wherever he is on our screen. It's a big hello in Orange County, California, to Mr. Nick Carver. Hello, Nick.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Excellent.
Welcome aboard.
Orange County is, how far is that from LA? It's a fair way, isn't it?
As the crow flies, I'd say 40 miles.
Okay.
As the car drives, it can be
2
anywhere
hours?
from an hour to two.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've
It's a
just
world
come
away, though. Orange County is very different from Orange County in terms of how it's run and, what the scenery looks like and
Yeah.
kind of people you run into.
Yeah, it's not a massive town like LA, I gather. It's a bit smaller than that.
No, Orange County is very small geographically, but very diverse. I mean,
Yeah.
and we got like the wealthiest people on the planet and some areas that are very much not that. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
in a small geographical area, you can get quite a variety of California living.
Cool.
People who made their millions out of photography, no doubt, Nick.
Yeah, that's how it's the get rich slow scheme.
Exactly. Well, thanks heaps for joining us. Cam and I are sort of fanboys, so we're probably going to gush over you a little bit as we get through this. So, again, we really do appreciate it. Now, you've got a YouTube channel that is growing quite quickly, 120,000 followers on YouTube. Is that right?
Quickly is an interesting term. I've been doing it 11 years, so it doesn't feel quick to me.
Well,
but
yeah.
But yeah, I guess nowadays, especially with how many people have channels, I'm quite fortunate to have the following, quote unquote, that I do.
Yeah. Well, 11 years is a long time, and they say the first 11 years is the hardest. So we've got a bit to look forward to, Cameron. But between us, we've got 121,000 subscribers.
That's pretty good. Do you mean we've still got another 8 years of doing this before we're not even at 1,000 subs yet? The first 1,000 you said was the hardest.
Apparently it is. Nick can vouch for that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I hope this is the crest, and it's all downhill and easy from here.
Piece of cake, mate. You're well on your way to 1 million. I have no doubt.
I saw the other day you asked for the second time ever someone to press the subscribe button on your videos, which that's something I like about your channel, is that you're not a bit like Ben Horn, who we've interviewed as well. You're not forcing down likes and subscribers on your channel all the time. So it's actually more genuine and more authentic, that you're not trying to con everyone into just following. You're actually putting up good content and excellent photos and stuff like that to make it worth watching, which is good. So we could maybe take a leaf out of that book.
It's been my plan. I don't really like the YouTube model.
Yeah.
Of kind of smash that like button, hit subscribe, and here's an ad about Squarespace. And here's a VPN service you should subscribe to. I don't know. Maybe it's because when I got into it, people weren't really doing that yet. But I don't know. I do it. I do the videos more because I want to make the videos.
Yeah.
So I don't really feel that need to shove advertisers down people's throats and all that kind of stuff. But I'm also kind of fortunate in that I got a day job, as it were, as a photographer, so I don't really have to play the YouTube game as much as maybe Thomas Heaton does, or
Who's this Thomas Heaton guy? I've never heard of him. Is he any good?
I think he's gonna land on his feet.
Yeah,
he'll figure this YouTube thing out.
Surely
he'll get there.
Surely he's got shares in Squarespace, like the amount of advertising that he does for them. A lot of them, like you said, Squarespace is everyone. I'll just stop this video for our interruption of the Squarespace sponsorship. They must be making $1 million, those mob.
Yeah, I don't know how much they pay because I delete the emails when they come in. But it's YouTube's such a weird business model, especially for photography, because it rewards constant content more than anything.
Yeah.
And eventually you just run out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, how much can you really, really talk about with photography?
Yeah, you just do what we do and just rehash the same subject 3 times.
Well, so do I. Yeah, and so do I. And I don't even post that much.
Yeah.
You just have to. I talk about printing for the 10th time and how I'm printing it. It's like it's a lot of rehashing. So, if someone's really trying to make YouTube the main thing, man, you gotta scrape and scrounge for new stuff to talk about.
Yeah. We just hope our viewers don't go back more than 10 episodes and see that we've spoken about the same thing 10 episodes ago and just rehashed it. So short memories works for us.
Yes.
We have a very loyal fan base. It might be small, but it's incredibly loyal.
Good.
I'm sure yours is too.
Yeah, that's my business model too. I don't really the number of subscribers I'm less interested in. The number of nice emails I get from people is much more important to me. And people, I say this all the time. I don't read the comments, so I can't say exactly what everyone is saying. But every once in a while, when I come across a comment that's like any sort of indication of, whenever I see a Nick Carver post a video, I click on it and give it a thumbs up before I even watch it. And I'm like, that's what I'm going for. I just want to be reliable as like everything I put out is, watchable at least. But
yeah. Well, that'd be like you and I, Brendan. Every time we see a new Nick Carver YouTube pop up, gives us something to watch. It's exciting. You're going to get good value for what you're watching. It's going to be entertaining. There'll be a bit of sense of humor in there, which is something we love about your videos. There's always it's almost a bit of an Aussie humor. We like, taking the piss out of things and have a bit of a laugh at ourselves. So, it's good fun.
Right. That fit right in down there, except I couldn't play rugby to save my life.
That's okay.
Neither do we, and neither does most of the country, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's all good.
Oh, okay. It's not the whole country playing rugby?
No.
No. Well, we've got rugby, and then we've got Australian rules football, which are two different things. But our Australian rules football is a bit like your gridiron, but without the padding and helmets.
Without the padding and helmets, man, you guys got to do everything more badass.
I know, right? Yeah. We're just fun. Yeah.
And the drugs are more badass. People.
Well, it's funny you should bring this up, Nick, because Cam and I have just spent some time in your wonderful country, and one comment we got a lot from Americans was, how have you lived to the age you've lived to? Because apparently around every corner something in Australia will kill you.
Really?
That's as much as a myth as fat, obnoxious Americans are down here, because that just doesn't happen. Like, we had the best time over there. I mean, Cam was there for a month. I was there for 2 weeks. And I mean, without pissing in your pocket, as we say down here, everyone was lovely. Everyone was great. Everyone was really welcoming. Everyone was happy. It just seemed like a very friendly country to be in.
Yeah, and that was during election time as well. Like no one was going too crazy or anything like that. Everyone was pretty happy.
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I mean, America's a pretty big and diverse place, so I'm sure some areas hold up the stereotype pretty well. But yeah, there's definitely I don't know, people develop stereotypes about a country, whether it's Australia, everything's going to kill you, or the U.S. The one I hear about the U.S. sometimes, it just kind of cracks me up, is like, people think there's a lot more gun violence than there is.
Yeah.
We saw
there's a lot more than other countries.
We saw one open carry gun, one.
Yeah.
In Arizona?
It was Arizona. Yeah.
It was in Page, Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, that's where you'll see it.
Yeah. And the guy, it was quite funny. The other guy was on a trip. My cousin helps us do the little tours that we do. And this guy started up his car and had this massive turbo, sounded like a jet engine, had this massive turbo. And my cousin's a bit of a car nut. He just went over to this guy to have a chat about his car. And as the guy turned around, he had his pistol in his pocket, or his hand cannon in his pocket. And Daniel's like, right, okay, well, that's about as much information of the car I need to know. Let's get back to work. But yeah, that was the only place we saw it. And it was 8 o'clock in the morning, some guy loading up his work truck to go to work. It's like, wow. But that was it. So
yeah, Arizona is a unique place in that sense. That's where I've seen it the most. And also, they don't have a helmet law for motorcycles in that state either.
No, they don't.
We noticed that.
It's weird for me coming from California, because you see a dude rolling down the street on a Harley, and he's got a gun on his waist and no helmet. It's man, that guy is
he's going places.
Danger by the balls. He's all about it.
What could possibly go wrong? Now, Nick, when we have people on our channel, we start off with a little little series of questions that I like to call burst mode. And basically it's rapid fire. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. There are no wrong answers. You can take as long as you like to answer them, but make it snappy, please.
Okay, burst mode. Should I put it into AI Servo? Autofocus jokes. Good stuff.
Nick's going to be here for an hour, folks. Try the veal. Question 1, color or black and white?
Color.
Well, gee, that was a quick one.
That's what we're after. This is good.
Yeah, it's good.
Favorite subject matter?
crappy occupied buildings.
Yeah, see, I had a feeling. If I had to run a book on what your answer would be, it'd be, yeah, that's great.
Very predictable, if nothing else.
No, that's good. What was your first camera?
A Minolta XGM SLR.
Ooh, right, very nice. And with a couple of lenses, or did you have a go-to lens on that bad boy?
Just the nifty 50. I think it was a 1.8. It's actually on my desk back there.
Oh, you got it there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's
got it at a
impressive.
pawn shop.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And was it one of those things that we'll get into this a bit later, but was it one of those things that was like an impulse buy, or you went, I think photography is for me, I'm going to go and buy this thing, or?
Yeah, I took a class for photography and kind of fell in love with it. So then my parents, being the good parents that they are, wanted to nurture that. So they took me to a pawn shop and let me pick out a camera.
Very nice. Is photography all you do?
In terms of like financial or just in life?
In terms of financial?
Yeah, it's all I do.
Yep. And your all-time favorite camera to shoot on? If you had to pick one.
Shenhua TFC 617A, my panoramic camera.
Yes.
That
camera's featured on your channel quite a bit, hasn't it?
Very much so. Yeah.
What's your all-time favorite film stock?
Kodak Portra, which feels like a cop-out, but I've gotten so comfortable with it. It's reliable. I know the color palette. I know how it reacts, so I like that one.
Nice.
Somewhat cheaper than the rest of the film out there as well, I'd imagine.
Especially, Portra 160 is. Portra 400 is a little pricey, but
It's getting out of control.
Yeah.
What's your drink of choice when you're editing a video?
Diplomatico rum, as is in my glass at this very moment.
All right. Well,
It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon here. I did suggest him and I start drinking, which is probably a bit late for us, but
yeah.
yeah. Oh, you got a can of it.
There we go.
There we go.
If there's another stereotype we like to fall into, it's that one.
I think I would like Australia.
I think you'd fit in pretty well.
Yeah.
This is today's sponsor, by the way.
Canadian Club. Jesus.
Yeah, you know what? I don't do sponsored videos, but if the right sponsor came along.
Oh, that's right. Nick, if they come knocking, you're not going to say no, right?
Yeah.
Barbecue or salad?
Barbecue.
What's more
Does
important?
anybody say salad?
You'd be surprised. I tried to eat salad around America for a month, and I got about 2 days in and went, stuff this. I'm not eating any more rabbit food.
There's too much good stuff.
Yeah.
This is the big one, Nick.
Yeah, this is a big question.
There's a big question. We're hanging on your answer. No, we're not. What's more important in a good photograph? Composition or exposure / light?
Composition.
Right answer.
Sure.
If photography disappeared, what would you be doing?
Oh,
See, this is why burst mode's good. It gets them thinking. I like it.
like what would I be doing if it disappeared right now, or if I never got into photography?
If it disappeared tomorrow, someone said photography is now illegal, you can't do that anymore. Would you still do something creative?
Yes.
Yeah.
The cop-out answer would be some sort of video production, but let's assume that's
gone too.
Into
That's gone too.
photography.
Yeah.
Probably woodworking of some sort.
Oh, nice one.
Yeah, cabinet building or something like that. I really like building things and having an actual finished thing I can look at that shows the work I put into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Where's somewhere you've never shot but really want to? This is
all of the smallest, shittiest podunk towns in the American West.
Yeah.
I know that's a big answer, but I can't think of any one particular town. I just want to.
That's a big region.
All the towns that nobody has shot.
So I reckon where Nick could go really well is outback Australia. Like we've got heaps of these sort of little towns that are all falling to pieces. Old petrol stations or gas stations and old pubs and all these things, just surrounded by deserts and wacky trees and random dingoes and dogs walking through them and stuff like that. I reckon you'd fit really well into outback Australia with your big panorama camera and doing some cool stuff, I reckon.
That sounds like it. Yeah. Yeah. Because all of the places that have been shot a lot, or kind of the obvious places to shoot, Iceland and Glacier National Park and Alaska and all that kind of stuff. I really have just zero desire to go to. So anything that like nobody has shot before and is a place that people live in, and kind of photographing the buildings they've made and what their town looks like in this moment.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the last of our burst mode questions: what's Thomas Heaton really like?
We can bleep this answer out as well if we get to.
Calm. Calm, quiet dude. He's like me. He's just kind of, great guy. Yeah, he's he has the same thing I have, which is you have to play it up a little bit on YouTube, and I get made fun of for that by my wife and my neighbor and my fellow working photographers and everything, because they watch a YouTube video and they're like, well, you got your YouTube persona on and everything. But what I always tell them is, like, if you had to hold someone's attention for 15 to 25 minutes and they're not going to speak back to you, and there's also a really good chance they're taking a dump right now, like, yes, you would have to play it up a little bit just to make sure. Yeah, there's still more to see here on this video. Don't just.
I'll put my hand up. I've had plenty of eye poos watching videos, and
that's right.
That's
honored.
It's well, if that's the level of honor we're going with, then I can agree to that. But it's
a very intimate thing to be.
Well, you don't get interrupted.
Talking photography to you while you're relieving yourself.
Yeah, as long as that's the only relieving you're doing, then that's pretty good, I reckon.
Yeah. So this kind of answers one of the questions I had for you as well. So your YouTube videos, and look, obviously it's all going to be linked below, guys. If you haven't seen this guy do his thing on YouTube, by all means, jump on and have a look. Your videos, Nick, they have a real authenticity about them. Now, you've just exploded that myth a little bit and said that you've got a bit of a YouTube persona. But I think for the masses, and for me definitely, the thing that sort of kept me watching your stuff was that authenticity, and was that, like Cam said, that sense of taking the piss out of yourself, which we love to do as well, and that the way that you sort of you stay true to yourself, it feels like, on YouTube. Is that the vibe you're going for?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I will say it's definitely authentic. The difference is, because it's a video, I have to verbalize things that are going on in my head, and so And I have to make it somewhat interesting, so I can't just have a stream of consciousness coming out of my head, because that would put me on a list somewhere. So I have to vocalize the internal dialogue, and that's what brings the YouTube persona out, because you would never actually do that, and then so it sounds like not what my wife knows, because I'm not doing that to her. At least I try not to.
Well, I remember watching, you did the interview with your wife. I think it was your 5-year anniversary. You did that anniversary thing. It was really funny.
Yeah.
And having never met your wife, obviously, but just the look on her face a few times looking at you, you can almost tell that she's just like, what are you doing, Nick? This is not you. Which is exactly what my wife looks at me and Brendan's wife, no doubt, when they watch this show that we do.
My wife doesn't watch this show.
My wife, does anyone? I don't think anyone watches this show, but if they do, but my wife does the same thing. She's like, "What are you crapping on about? Like just get to the point." I'm like, "Yeah, but you gotta fluff it up a bit." So, yeah,
it's different. Like I'm a different person around my brothers than I am, friends. Which I'm a different person around my wife. It's like you have these different things. You kind of meet people at their level, but videos are just weird because you don't really know who's on the other end of it, and like what they're gonna connect with. So
it's an unknown, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's a very strange thing, and like talking to a camera feels still very strange to me. That's why I still can't even have anyone in the room while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You said something. You said something before as well. Like you're trying to do a video and trying to hold someone's attention for 15 minutes. I've done a few little videos for my photography. Brendan's done these little things as well, and that's probably the one thing I struggle with, is just like trying to keep it together for long enough that you think someone's going to be interested in listening to. And a lot of that's editing and structure and the storyboard of what you're doing, which I think you do amazingly well. But it's really hard for people to do that. If you're not a natural or you don't have that sort of creative brain, it's hard to put a video together that's going to keep people's attention for more than a couple of seconds. So to be able to do that regularly, it's a credit to you that you're a great storyteller. And like I said, you mix it in with a great photography and a bit of sense of humor. And it's very entertaining.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a line I try to walk because it's easy to get too fast paced in the fear that people are going to get bored.
Yeah.
But then it's also, you know, you can get too slow paced, obviously, because YouTube is like, I generally like slower paced stuff, slower paced movies, you know, things that kind of let it breathe and long cut scenes and all that kind of stuff. That's what I love.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to do more of that in my YouTube videos, but I also have to keep in mind it's a different medium. Like if I was making a video that's going to be displayed in a movie theater, you can let stuff breathe. Like people are there expecting that and they're kind of bought in for the next 2 hours. But YouTube is a specific type of medium, which is, it's not TV, it's not movies, and yet there's stuff on there like movies and there's stuff on there like TVs. So
yeah,
it's hard to figure out the pace. And I kind of just hope whatever my pace is, the audience that likes that finds it rather than, you know, trying to appeal to everybody and making it the pace that I think is going to do well to for the algorithm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you definitely strike that balance of letting the picture be worth 1,000 words. You do that quite often, and you're right. You do have parts of your videos with no narration at all. It's just you lining up the shot, getting your head under the cloth, that sort of thing, setting your stopwatch, all that sort of stuff. And I think that's the really intriguing stuff for me, is watching how a film photographer goes about it. Now, I've never played with the medium you play with. And it fascinates me, the process, not least of which is the fact that when you put the cloth over your head, you're looking at an image that is back to front and inverted. We had this conversation with Ben Horn as well. It blows my mind that you're able to get your head around that in the moment. Is there any tips or secrets around that, or is it just something you've gotten used to?
You kind of just get used to it, but I mean, it really only works on very slow shots, you know, so people kind of picture it like, oh, I'm going to do street photography with a camera like that. And it kind of blows their mind like, no way. And I agree, no way. But if it's like a building, you know, or a landscape, like the type of stuff I shoot, it's not too bad. And I actually remember when I was in middle school, there was an art teacher there that said to draw things upside down if you're having a hard time, like getting proportions right. Because what happens is someone goes to draw a picture of, like, let's say an athlete kicking a ball, and it's like, we know what a leg looks like in our head. We know what a foot looks like in our head. We know what a ball looks like in our head. So you start drawing a leg, and then it just looks stupid because you're drawing your idea of a leg rather than like how it looks from that perspective and the way the lines intersect from that angle. And then so the art teacher said, you know, just whatever you're drawing from, like, let's say from a photo, turn it upside down, and then you're literally just drawing the lines. And then when you turn it right side around, the proportions look right. So I think having the image upside down and backwards can help you notice like distracting intersecting elements or lines that kind of steal from each other. You know, when you have lines that are kind of blending into one, things like that. You can kind of start to see those things for just graphical elements rather than, oh, that's the top of a building I'm looking at, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it can actually help composition a little bit, but you pay for it in speed. It's very, very slow.
Yeah, that's actually a fantastic piece of advice. I mean, I never really looked at it that way. You know, the amount of times we've all been there, you're out in the field, you've got photographer's block, you're sort of trying to work out how you've got a great scene. You're just struggling to capture it. It'll be fascinating to see, to put that into practice invert your screen cam. Do you reckon that's a new bit of advice we can give to our listeners?
I reckon you should try some medium format brands. I reckon we should. I've got one here. We can send you that in a box of film and a light meter and a little loop and a shitload of patience and see how you go.
Well, funny you should say that, because I actually shot medium format the other day on an old box brownie.
Reach. Oh, right, you went real vintage.
They've just been released here in Australia. The box brand.
Yeah, that's right.
They're brand new down here. That's a new. I don't know who this brand Kodak is. I don't think they're going to make it, but they've just released one down here.
But I haven't had the film processed yet, so because it's like 120 roll film, and I've probably got to send it to America.
See, I think that's the beauty of film, which I know you'll understand, Nick and Brendan, and also Ben. We've interviewed him. Is there's still something magical about film that. We have the digital cameras, we shoot, oh, look, it looks okay, I'll fix that bit up, I'll stuff that up a bit, or I'll underexpose, overexpose, whatever it is. But film, you just don't get that luck of seeing it straight away. You've really got to trust your instincts and your skills. And I still think that's the whole gold standard of photography for me still, is that if you can shoot large format or 35mm film or whatever it is, but still get great results out of that and not go through a box of film doing it, to me, that's the fine tuning of a photographer that makes them probably better than everyone else, is that they can do that with film. And it's something that, like, I teach, I run workshops and stuff like that. And that's something I try and install in my guests, is that try and get it right in camera as much as you can. Pretend you're shooting like you're shooting film. Instead of taking 20 shots of that bus behind Brendan with the palm tree, just take 1 or 2 and get it right. Fix those little mistakes as you go. And I think it's something that digital photography sort of maybe ruined a bit with photography, is that it's too easy just to shoot and spray and fix it up later, where what you do, and for other guys that shoot film, it is a slow process, but it's a perfection at the same time. And it's got to be rewarding. Like, I'm sure you get your shots back and you pull the film out of the box after it's been developed and you're like, shit, that worked really well. I'm really happy with that, as opposed to looking at 40,000 files on a computer and just picking one and working on it. So do you still get it? Do you still get a buzz out of that when you get your film back and you've nailed something well on film?
Oh yeah, that's never gone away, which I kind of expected it to when I got back into film photography, because I started on film photography and then I went full digital, and then I came back to film photography.
Yeah,
and I kind of keep waiting to get bored of that that kind of foreplay where it's you took the picture and you don't know, is it going to come out? You take it to the lab, you get it back, you put it on the light table, and then there's the scanning process. And it's like, there's so many parts where it's like you can start to get excited about it.
Yeah.
Or the excitement can wane and then it can come back. And like I took a picture recently just up the street for a project I'm working on, and it was kind of a last minute, I'm going to go out and take pictures tonight. I didn't plan it way in advance like I always do. And it was kind of a, I didn't invest in as much into the planning of it as I normally do. And the picture ended up being like one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken so far. And when I got that film back and like put it on the light table, first I can tell by looking at the negative that it's perfectly exposed, and I can see I nailed the focus and the composition's awesome and everything. So I'm getting excited already. And there was also a pre-excitement in the parking lot of the lab, because I always hold it up to my windshield and I got to look at it before I get it home, and just to see if I messed up. I'm mainly just, there's like those different steps. I first need to confirm I didn't screw it up. Okay, that's a bit of excitement. And then I get it home, I confirm now that I got the exposure right. That's a whole nother level of excitement. And the composition's right in the focus. And then I get it, and then I scan it. And then now I'm going to do the color correction. And I see that the colors came out even more beautifully than I remembered, and more beautifully than I hoped they would, because film is rendering it in a different way than my eyes were seeing it. And I'm kind of getting this third wave of excitement of like, it's, discovering how the final picture is actually going to be. And then, by the time I get to the end of it, there's been so many stages of excitement for it that now I'm like in love with this photo.
Yeah.
Whereas with digital, when I still shoot digital for all my client work. So, I take the picture, I look at it immediately,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm still in the moment of being in that environment. So there's no like mystery, there's no separation from the subject. And it's like, there's none of that foreplay. It's like, it's just, okay, yeah, I got it, nailed it. And then what I keep finding over and over when I try to incorporate more digital photography is I get it back to my computer and my excitement has just tanked like immediately. And I struggle to get myself to go through the photos and sort them out.
It's amazing that you say that. We talk about that a lot on the channel. It is that, for me, like just being in the States and going to Zion and going to Bryce Canyon and Grand, all these amazing places. When I got back, I was so excited, and then I started going through the photos, and you're exactly right. It's almost like, how can I put it politely? It's almost like you've shot early, and you're sort of like, you know what I mean?
You climaxed too early, Brendan.
That's what I was looking for. You climaxed a bit too early, and then I find with digital, and you might find the same, Nick, I'm not sure, but it sometimes takes me 3 or 4 weeks, and I've just got to shelve it and come back to it later. Of course, unless it's for a client or it's a deadline or whatever. But I'm finding I'm just starting to go through my shots from the States now, and I'm much more comfortable looking at them now than I did immediately. And I'm guessing that that's that vibe that you get with the film.
Yeah, definitely. I think, 100%. In digital, people give the argument that you can just treat digital like you do film, like don't look at the screen, limit the number of photos you take and all this kind of stuff. And they're not wrong to make that argument. But I guess I personally don't have the self-discipline to do that, because if I go out with a digital camera, there's no way I'm not looking at the screen. I might start off, I might have my discipline in the beginning, but it's gonna evaporate because it's so easy. It's right there. Like, what am I gonna put tape over my screen and like look at?
Or do what Fuji did and bring a camera out that the screen flips the wrong way. So by the time you get to the screen, you're just over it. You don't look anyway. I think as well, I think with digital as well, like you're saying, like with that excitement and the foreplay, as you call it, in the film lead up, when we take the digital shot, like we're in that moment there, like we're reliving that excitement right there on the screen, and it's done and dusted. Like you look at the screen and go, okay, I've nailed that focus, exposure, all good. Whereas the film one is that you're in that moment that you take the shot, and then you get to relive that moment over and over again as you go through those stages. And then I guess the climax would be is when you print it out on a piece of paper, and then you can actually hold it and feel it and see all the beautiful detail of it. To me, that's got to be the climax, I guess, of the whole process, is that, you've done everything right in the field, you've nailed the exposure, the lab didn't stuff your neg up, which is always good. And then you get it back, and then you get to scan it, and then you get to print it, and it's a whole process. And again, I don't think digital rewards that as much. I think it's all sort of instantaneous right there and then. And like Brendan said, you just move on. Like you're on to the next shot, you're on to the next scene, and you just don't get to relive that moment all the time like you do with film. So
yeah, that's really the reason I shoot it. I think a lot of people assume the reason to shoot film is because of the look or something, but I don't think that's really the main reason, or that most people would even notice, especially if it's getting scanned, you're color correcting it anyway. So it's essentially working on a digital file. And I look at my favorite photos, and I don't think I can pick out which ones are film, which ones are digital from other photographers, So, it's always for the process, the workflow. If that fosters creativity in you, then it's a great reason to shoot film. And all the reasons not to just dissolve. It's expensive, it's slow, it's a pain in the ass, it's hard to travel with.
Yeah, which brings me to one of the questions I've got for you. Is that what you find the most challenging thing about continuing to shoot film? I mean, obviously cost is a factor these days, and it just seems to be going up exponentially. Are you finding that is slowing you down a little bit?
Yeah, I've dialed back my shooting a little bit, which is it's a tough one for me because I already don't shoot very much. So it's because I'm pretty selective about my shots. But I mean, it sucks. I don't know how else to put it. It just sucks. But I mean, every every second you turn around nowadays, they're adding $2 to something. It's like every monthly fee I get an email like every day. It's like, oh, your Netflix is going up, your Hulu's going up, your insurance is going up, your cell phone bill's going up. It's like, it's just nonstop. And like, I think everyone's feeling the squeeze, and I'm definitely not immune to it, but I try to look at, like, film photography is what I wake up for. I mean, it is to take pictures on film. And I know that workflow is what gives me the most gratification. So I try to not pay too much attention to it. And it's like, oh, it costs this. That's what it costs. But it's something I have to do. So I can either get upset about the cost, or I can just kind of eat it. Yeah. But like, someone just gave me an 8x10 camera, which is a crazy gift. It's one of the perks of having a YouTube channel. And 8x10 is like $30 a frame or something. Yeah. And it's outrageous. There's no reason for me to
Which is like $3,500 Australian dollars. You realize that?
Yeah, that exchange rate.
Like, we can talk about exchange rates. We just spent a month there, and my kids aren't eating for the rest of the year, so
that's fine.
Yeah. Santa's not coming this year.
No. Yet another reason for me to travel to Australia.
Well, yeah. I'm scheming an idea in my head, friends. We'll talk offline, but I would love to get Nick out here.
You'd be the richest man in the country, mate. So an 8x10 camera. Have you've shot 8x10 before though, right?
Crazy enough, no.
Okay, cool.
I've coached.
Well, this is going to be great for you then.
Oh, it's just playing with the camera is funny, like, haven't even exposed anything yet, but I'm gonna shoot some 4x10 on it. And it's one of those things where the expense I can't justify, the extra resolution I don't really need. I already get plenty of resolution from what I'm doing. There's no logical reason to shoot it, but I'm excited about it. Yeah. And that excitement, I've just learned from doing this long enough, I can't take it for granted. Like, excitement in photography can disappear, even though I'm in love with photography and my whole life revolves around it. It can disappear. It has disappeared for me. So if there's something that is lighting my fire a little bit, even if it's expensive, even if I can't justify it on paper, I have to do it, because it's almost like a maintenance thing. I have to maintain my excitement for photography if I want to be successful at it, and I want to keep doing good work. So,
which is super cool. I mean, aside from the fact that you'd get to say to someone, "Yeah, I shot that on an 8x10," like that's just so cool to be able to say that you've taken photos on an 8x10 setup. Like, I would love to give that a crack one day. That sounds fantastic.
Does your wife know about your other account that you keep all your photography money in and buying film and stuff like that? Do you have one of those?
She's not watching. Don't worry, she's not watching.
Yeah. Does she know about that other account that's got all the extra funds in it to buy $30 a pop film?
I'm an honest guy.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Just completely off topic. We are, as we speak, having a wicked thunderstorm here at the moment. So
really,
if this whole thing cuts out in 2 seconds, you know what's happened to me.
Okay. Nick, I'll take over hosting.
Yeah, that's right. I'll just handball it off to you. I'm fascinated by your process, Nick, in terms of how you identify a subject. Now, a lot of your videos you do a little bit, you do talk about that a bit, you break down sort of how you find subjects and things. Are you one of these guys that drives around and sort of with their head on a swivel and goes, oh my God, that I've got to come back to that, I've got to come back to that? What kind of research goes into your subjects?
Yeah, it's a lot of driving around and seeing it. Luckily, I don't really have to make an effort to drive around, because I end up driving around a lot for my client work. Yeah. And it sends me to places I would never think to go in the first place. So, my head's always on a swivel when I start seeing, when you start driving into an area and the buildings are starting to get older as you move in, and they're starting to get a little more, just a little shitty, or just the right amount of shitty, and that's when I really perk up and I start paying attention, and I mark things on an app to come back to, and then I use Street View quite a bit to check out a place that I kind of went past too quickly, and kind of scout it. But yeah, I kind of let I let the stuff find me more than I used to. I was always actively trying to find new stuff to photograph, but I kind of let it find me now. It tends to work out better that way.
So you just come up with a name for your next exhibition, just the right amount of shitty.
Yeah.
That's a book title right there.
Book title. It's something that we noticed as well, Brendan, when we were driving around Utah and Arizona the other day. And it's something that America does or has an absolute plethora of. Is just old rundown towns that you drive past or just off the beaten track. Like there'd be no lack of subject matter for you where anywhere in America where you went. Like you're really lucky in that way. It's such a big country with lots of different things going on there. Like I said before, I reckon you'd really fit into the outback Australia here, but like we might be talking 400 or 500 kilometers between these little towns. Like there's nothing out there, but they are really interesting. But having even just come back from, like when we drove back from Vegas to LA, there's just these little things going on all over the place. And I think I might have said on the way over, we were in the same car, Brendan, we were like, oh, that's a Nick Carver shop there. That's I'm sure that'd be pretty cool.
Your name came up several times on that drive, just from LA to Vegas, mate. We were looking going, oh, that looks like a Carver scene right there. So so do you see yourself?
That stretch is very fruitful. That stretch from LA to Las Vegas.
Well, do you see yourself as a historian, Nick? Like, you're capturing images of buildings that are already shitty, but they're falling apart or they're going to be destroyed. Do you ever look at it that way, or are you more looking at it purely from an artistic expression, or do you think of yourself as you're capturing a bit of history there?
It's a very interesting question. I've moved more towards that the more I've done this, simply because I've had it a few times where I marked a building I really wanted to shoot, and then it got bulldozed before I could get there, and it's like devastating. I'm like really sad about it, and as I get older, probably I'm starting to kind of appreciate that more because I'm seeing how much things change over the course of 10 years, and I didn't really notice that when I was younger, or didn't find it sad when I was younger, So yeah, there's definitely an aspect of, I kind of feel like a responsibility to photograph some of these things that I find, because I don't know, just things get so gentrified now, and especially here in Orange County, it's like just everything gets bulldozed, and they put up 5-story high density, quote unquote, luxury living apartments, and like everything is luxury living this, luxury living that, and it's like all the buildings are ugly, they all look the same, and they're all just the most profit driven corporate buildings you can imagine, replacing like this charming crappy motel that I didn't get to photograph before it was gone. I actually had that on a client shoot the other day. I got sent to photograph a building that was like a time capsule of 1969 to 1972. I don't know when it was built, but they hadn't changed the drinking fountains in there. They hadn't changed the ceiling tiles, the lights. It was like, it was beautifully perfect in all of its, like, what everyone would consider old, crappy, details. And I was taking pictures of it, and I was sending pictures of it to my friend and my brothers, because we all appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my friend after, and, we both had the thought of like, it's actually kind of sad seeing these photos, because I know what they're going to do with that building, because I'm there so that they can sell it. Yeah. And the only reason someone would buy this building is to bulldoze it and put up some luxury living. So my friend and I both came up with kind of the same idea, which is like, oh, this kind of feels like taking pictures of your dog before you put it down. Yeah. It's like, it's sad. Like, I'm glad I have the pictures, but really sucks this isn't going to exist anymore. And I'm glad I have the pictures at least, but I get a pretty emotional connection to these buildings that have lived such a long life, and even if they're crappy, even if they're in disrepair, it's like sad to lose them.
Well, I think this is the point as well. Like, you not only get to see these buildings, you see them literally in their best light, because that's what you chase. You chase the sunrise and the sunset light. I mean, for the most part, sometimes you do shoot middle of the day, but you see a lot of your stuff is, you're there an hour before sunrise, you're there well after sunset to capture it literally in its best light. When it comes to a location, is that the way you think? You see it for the first time, do you then automatically think, right, well, I've got to be here at golden hour, blue hour, etc.? Is that how you dissect the scene?
Yeah, I try and mix it up. I try and do some daytime photos just so that my whole portfolio isn't magic hour. And because I don't want it to be a crutch for one, but I want to have some variety in my portfolio. But you just can't escape good light versus ugly light. You know, it's like it's called magic hour for a reason. It adds a level of magic to these scenes that I tend to prefer. I've been trying to incorporate more like proper sunset light, where I'm getting a little streak of light on the building and, modeled shadows and things like that. I'm trying to incorporate that more where the building suits it. But yeah, I mean, that dawn or dusk light, you can't beat it. You can have the ugliest building in the world and it'll look like $1 million in that light.
Yeah. Same goes for people.
Do you find that the film you're using and its sort of, I guess, dynamic range of the film is restrictive on when you do shoot? Like, I've seen some of your stuff where it's sort of been more harsher light, and obviously skies blow out a bit and it gets a bit more brighter and stuff like that. But do you find that drives a little bit of you shooting at that both ends of the day based on what the film can handle, or is it more just, like you said, you like the look of how that building looks with that light, or
it drives it? Yeah, it drives it for sure. Yeah. And things online will I think way overestimate the dynamic range of film. Partly because you can look at the dynamic range of film in kind of two ways. Like, there's the literal dynamic range, like, is there literally detail in that highlight? And then that counts as being in the dynamic range. But I try and look at it more realistically of like, but I'm not gonna scan it as this super flat, low contrast image. So those highlights are gonna get pushed, and they're gonna get pushed out. So yes, it may technically have a dynamic range of 15 stops, but with the type of edits I want to apply to the image to give it pop, it's going to knock it down to 12 or whatever. So I tend to behave as if my film only has like an 8 to 10 stop dynamic range, even though it's probably technically bigger than that. And that's actually less than I think a lot of digital cameras now. So that's yet another reason to not shoot film, and yet I still do it, because I just there's other aspects to dynamic range, like the shoulder on the highlights, whether it peaks quickly or whether it clips quickly, and versus kind of shallowing out, things like that.
Tapers out.
Yeah. So there's all those kind of nuanced things about dynamic range, but that's often the deciding factor on whether I shoot something at sunrise or sunset. Is I'm thinking about the dynamic range of the film, and if the sun is going to set directly behind the building, and the building is a dark color, that's going to be tough. Because the dynamic range is just huge. So I may shoot that in the morning. So it's a big factor. But I do really love the tonal curve of film. It could probably be mimicked with digital if I was good enough at that. But I'm not real good at that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I wanted to go back and touch on something. When you said you got your first camera, you said you got it from a pawn shop. Your parents took you down there. And you've mentioned your brothers a couple of times, so you've been sharing images about it. Is your family very photographic in general, or was it you that had the passion and they've all sort of come behind you, or was it a bit of a thing that was part of the family to start with?
I come from a creative family.
Okay.
I will say that. My dad's an optometrist. He's an eye doctor, but when he was a teenager, he was in a band that recorded at Capitol Records, and he's an amazing musician. He hasn't played in a long time, but amazing musician. My mom's an amazing artist in terms of watercolor painting and drawing and everything. She thinks she sucks, so she never does it, but she's amazing. And then my oldest brother is an amazing musician and amazing videographer. And then my middle brother, between me and my oldest, he's a coder, but he has good taste. He's into photography. He's a drummer. You know, we're not so good at throwing the football, but like when it comes to, picking a good color palette and picking a good vibe in a video, we got that nailed down pretty good. So I'm glad I came from that type of family, even though it wasn't super convenient going through school, not being so good at sports, but
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you say throwing a football. On the second trip that we did around Utah, my cousin and I actually YouTubed how to throw a gridiron properly. Like, we can throw cricket balls and all that kind of stuff, but we had this little baby gridiron, and it was coming out all warped and looking like shit. So we actually YouTubed how to throw a gridiron in Capitol Reef National Park. We were in the car park there. While our guests were out taking shots at the nice autumn trees, we were there throwing this ball around the car park. So we got pretty good at it over a couple of weeks. But that's interesting.
If only YouTube had been around when I was in high school.
Well, exactly.
Can I just pick up on something? I love hearing that your parents were creative and you feel like that's siphoned down onto you. My mum was an incredible artist as well. She could play piano by ear. She could paint. She could draw. She was amazing. But it sounds like your mum was quite similar in terms of never gave herself any credit and always thought she was no good at it. And yet everyone kept telling her how amazing she was at it. And I feel like now that's come to me, but I'm happy to share. I'm happy to give that out to the world. Do you feel the same way, Nick?
In terms of kind of the low self-esteem aspect of it?
Yeah.
That has waned a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks to YouTube. And
do you know, you can actually tell with your older videos. I think, definitely. And as you've gained confidence in yourself, which is brilliant. It's so cool. I mean, I think the last video you put out with the Spanish rodeo, was it, or Mexican rodeo? That was amazing. That was one of my favorite Nick Carver, and I'm not pissing in your pocket. That was my favorite Nick Carver videos I've ever watched. It was fascinating. That's cool. That process.
I was worried that video would be a little disappointing because I didn't have much on location footage, but I'm glad to hear that. You got a pretty good response on that video too, so I think maybe it struck a chord with people. But because I've been doing this so long, because I mean, I got into photography in the year 2000, so I've been doing this 24 years, and it's like so much of that time was doubting my own style and doubting my skills and doubting the direction I was taking more than anything. Like, is this what I should be shooting, or is this going to be work that anyone cares about? And I've gone through so many dips and so many just like, I guess depressive states would be the best term for it. But in my photography, where I'm just utterly depressed, I just want to give it up. I hate all my work and, all that usual stuff. I've gone through that enough times that I'm a little more stable now, in that I'm just much more willing to take the pictures I want to see, more than what I think is going to be the right move or the right picture to take, or what I should be taking, or anything like that. And that's just it's a level of comfort that's taken me a very long time and a lot of effort to get to, and it's comfortable. And I think that's one of the greatest things about getting older, is you just kind of relax about that stuff a little bit in general.
You let a bit of it go, don't you? You let a bit of
you just let some stuff go.
Don't sweat the small shit.
Yeah, and you kind of realize it's all bullshit anyway, and it's like, it's not. What's going to happen if you go take that picture you think is rad, but everyone's going to hate? Like, what happens? It's nothing. Yeah.
I actually had the exact same conversation with a customer about an hour before we jumped on. I had to drop off a calendar to her, and she was talking about some of the stuff that she just printed. And she's like, "Oh, I can just see all these little imperfections in this print." I said, Do you like it? Do you like the shot? She goes, "Oh, I love it. It's just there's a couple of things." I've said, if you like it, then that's all that matters. She goes, "Oh, but what about if someone picks up that error?" I said, "Who gives a shit? If you like it, if you enjoyed the moment, if you enjoyed that place where you were, It was of the Southern Lights, the Aurora Australis lights down here that we get in Tasmania. And she was all worried about the saturation early. I'm like, but do you like it? She goes, I love it. So it was a great moment. I knew exactly where I was. I'm like, then that's all that matters. Just let the other shit go. Who cares what people think? As long as the process was enjoyable for you and it makes you want to go do it again, then that's a win. And I think in the day and age of social media, like, YouTube, Instagram, all those kind of things, everyone's trying too hard to get noticed and trying too hard to impress other people when they're probably forgetting that the one person you need to impress is yourself when it comes to photography and art. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to love what you're doing and love the moments that you're in. If you're just doing it to try and satisfy other people, then it's like I said, you're going to have these troughs of depression and throwing your camera out and then bringing another camera in or ripping up film or whatever it might be. You just got to enjoy it. And that's something we try and push big time on this show is that, photography is just more about enjoyment more than anything. If it gets you out and about and enjoying it, then, that's the number one goal really. And if you can create some nice shots, even better.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's, the social media is definitely an aspect to it. And, especially if you're trying to do it professionally, it gets a little messy because you kind of have to factor that in, and you have to, you have to try and get eyeballs on your stuff. Otherwise you're not gonna survive financially.
Which is a shame, isn't it? It's a shame, but sometimes it's got to be that way.
Yeah. And I don't, I was talking about this with my friend the other day. I feel like no matter what professional you talk to in any line of work, they'll tell you to not get into their line of work.
That's so true.
My friend was talking to someone who opens restaurants, and my friend is kind of interested in opening a bar someday. And the guy's like, you know what? It's such a pain in the ass. You wouldn't want to do it. And it's like, and yet that guy is still doing it. Like he's opening restaurants all the time. So photographers are no different. Every professional photographer you talk to will tend to be like, yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it. And I'm kind of in that boat, not because it's like, it's not a great moneymaker, which it isn't, but it's more, it just really complicates your relationship with photography. And it's taken me a pretty long time and a lot of practice to kind of be able to compartmentalize like the stuff that stresses me out about making a living at it versus the stuff about it that makes me really happy. Because if those start to intermingle too much and I start to confuse one for the other, then I start to hate photography when it's really, I just hate the business of it. And if I don't make sure I go out and enjoy the good side of it, and it's all the shitty business side of it, then I want to quit. That's where YouTube has actually been a pretty big savior for me, in that it gives me a very clear delineation between shooting the stuff I like to shoot and shooting the stuff I have to shoot, because I never do YouTube videos on the stuff I have to shoot. And I only make YouTube videos if it's something I really want to shoot. So as soon as I get into YouTube mode, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying what I'm shooting, and it's not like a stressful, got to make money on this thing. That's as we were talking about earlier, that's a lot of the reason I don't do live read ads. I don't try and put out X number of videos every year. I don't have targets on how many subscribers to get or anything. That I don't do anything that's going to taint the waters over on this thing that is giving me the good side of photography. Because as soon as I start having to do a Squarespace read, or I have to do something like that, now it's getting muddied up with the other stuff that I hate. And then I could risk hating film photography, which would be a tragedy for me.
Yeah. Well, we've mentioned Squarespace enough now. This will probably get monetized now, and they'll give us get a check in the mail, surely. Nick, I kind of promised it would only keep you for an hour. This has been a wonderful chat so far, but I just have to ask you, what's in store for Nick Carver? What's the future? Do you have plans to just keep doing what you're doing? Is there a project on the horizon that you're keen on, or what are you looking forward to, Nick?
Short term, I really want to figure out this next online course that I want to put out. which will be
This is the printing one? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and color profiles and all that kind of stuff. I'm really struggling with it because it's a much heftier topic than
That's a
I
big
initially
topic.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just debating on how to break it up and how to communicate it so that people actually understand it and everything. So that's kind of my short-term goal, is to get that thing really dialed in and something I'm really proud of, and then put it out for sale. Long-term, kind of the big goal that I'm perpetually looking forward to is doing like a proper book, whether it's from the Dead Inside series that I'm working on or some other project. I would love to just have like a really professional book, and like, a hard copy book, big format that you could put on a coffee table and, open it up anytime you have someone over to really try and impress them. That would be kind of the pinnacle for me.
Would you do it? Would you do it like have a rum or a whiskey that goes with each photo? You know how the menus say, yeah, have this steak and have this beer. You could have like a different
QR
section
code to order some.
That's not a bad idea, Cam.
QR code. Here's your next bottle of rum to enjoy the book. There you go. It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
There's a photo. There's a photo you've got, and I've wanted to tell you this to your face forever. So here it is. The photo you've got of a railway carriage. I think they call it a hopper. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That shot. And this, yeah, I just think it's one of the greatest photos I've ever seen. I absolutely love that image. And I remember you were going through the process of having it printed, I believe, for either your studio wall behind or your office wall behind you there. And I think it ended up in your exhibition, did it not? Oh, is it right? Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you ship that over to me, please? I'll take it.
I'd love to. So that was in the exhibition I did.
Yeah.
And then someone bought it, but he hasn't been able to get it yet. So I've been holding on to it for him. But yeah, that one's a crowd pleaser. It looks really good in person too, because I printed it on metallic paper. Right. And because it's a metal train, it looks like you're looking at like a real metal train. So
I think that's what did it for me, was the way it caught the light off the metal surface. And then, I mean, it's hard for it to come across properly on a YouTube video, but I just know that would have printed so well, that shot.
Yeah. Actually, there's quite a mess behind me. I'm normally not this messy, but I've been making prints for Christmas orders because I have a holiday sale going on right now. And
is Christmas coming up? I wouldn't have known.
I know. Although you guys have hot Christmas down there, which is
we do. Yeah, if it's not 40 degrees on Christmas Day Celsius, it's not Christmas Day.
God, that is so.
I'll tell you what.
Out of my realm of reality.
What did my head in was when I was in America last year. We went through Moab, and they had a Christmas pageant thing going down the main street. And it was freezing cold. I was freezing my ass off. I'm like, why is it so freaking cold at Christmas? This doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it's although having a white Christmas, that's got to be on the bucket list for most Australians, I reckon.
So is your Santa like our Santa, where he's wearing
he's
and everything?
Yeah, he's sweating his ass off is what he's doing.
If you go around to all the shopping centres or the malls around Australia in Christmas, I can guarantee you 20% of the Santas are passed out from heat exhaustion while they got a kid on their lap because they got so much crap on. They've got the beard and the hat and the jacket. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for them.
But let me tell you something. There's a couple here in Ocean Grove where I live. I'm on the beach, Nick, and they've cottoned on to the idea. And last weekend they did Santa photos on the beach with Santa in flip-flops and a T-shirt, and it was actually awesome. And the photos look great, and everyone are bringing them into me to print them. And they've got a surfboard instead of a Christmas tree. It's cool.
Is it still a fat white bearded guy, or like?
Yeah. No. Nick actually looked like you in a Santa beard.
Right.
Oh wow. That's. Man,
and the other thing we do
world down there.
The other thing we do for Christmas is we have barbecues for Christmas. You can have a.
Ooh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, barbecue, a couple of cold beers, and just watch the relatives get drunk and fight with each other. It's pretty normal. Just hot.
Sounds like our 4th of July.
Yeah. Well, it pretty much is. Nice. Yeah.
And I believe
our Independence Day, for anyone who doesn't know what 4th of July
is.
Well, isn't Thanksgiving's quite soon, isn't it, for you?
It's like tomorrow or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually this Thursday.
This Thursday. There you go.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to those who celebrate.
Yeah. That's I always wondered about that, about Australia, because I just like all the songs, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
And we got all those. Yeah.
We play them, but they're completely irrelevant to where we are. Yeah.
Do reindeer pull Santa's sleigh, or do you guys have some
Kang-
summer appropriate animal?
There is
Kangaroos.
kangaroos. A lot of kangaroos will pull the
Oh, really?
sleigh. Yeah.
I was going to suggest kangaroos, but I didn't want to be bigoted or something.
No, you can't be on the show.
Nick,
Yeah.
we better wrap it up. This has been absolutely brilliant, and hopefully somewhere down the track we'll get you back on, because we could easily talk to you for 3 or 4 episodes about what you do. We encourage you to keep doing what you're doing because, as I say, you're an inspiration to us. And this has been kind of weird because I felt like I knew you long before we actually got to meet today. So, yeah, 100%. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, agree. Thanks.
Pleasure,
Thanks.
man. I love talking photography, so it's always a pleasure. Yeah, and I'd love to be back on if you guys have more to talk to me about. I'm all ears.
Yeah, we'll just rehash it. That's what we do. We just do it again in a year's
Give
time.
it enough time,
Yeah.
wait until the next Christmas and then
Yeah.
annual thing.
Well, you got to get yourself down to come down and have an Australian Christmas one year. Then you'll really see what it's all about.
Then I'll be really worldly.
You will.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So thanks, Nick. Of course, all of Nick's stuff is linked in the description. We'll put all over our socials as well. So thank you again for your time, Nick. So this is where we wrap things up. This has been episode 144 of the Down South Photo Show. We'll see you. Maybe you'll see me. I don't know if we'll see Cam. Cam's heading off somewhere, but
I'll be around somewhere.
We'll see you for episode 145 next week. Bye for now. Thanks again, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. Thank you.
All right, there you have it. There is our top 10 videos for 2024. Thank you to everyone who has liked, subscribed, and followed the Down South Photo Show's journey this year. We greatly appreciate it. We ain't going nowhere. We have got a lot in store for 2025, not least of which are our fantastic workshops that we've got on offer that you can find at www.dsps.com.au. This will go out a few days before the end of the year, so you've still got time to enter our Facebook competition. The theme this month is foreign. You can do that by visiting our Facebook page. Just search the Down South Photo Show on Facebook, follow the page, and you'll see the pinned post. You can actually leave your entry there in our foreign competition. So on behalf of Mr. Blake and myself, we hope you have a happy new year in 2025, and we look forward to joining you then. But for now, bye for now.